Whether you're a large YouTube creator, or maybe you're an up and coming one, or maybe you stream on Twitch, or make content for Instagram, when you're making income from your content, you may have a tax obligation. Today I'm going to be talking about all things tax for content creators. Now just be aware, I am based here in Australia, so my information is going to be based for an Australian audience, but if you're in a different country, make sure you do your own research because the rules might be slightly different in your country. The first thing that you need to determine is whether this is a hobby or whether it's turned into a business. And the great thing is, in Australia, we have the ATO that have a pretty good tool when it comes to hobby versus business, so I definitely suggest going to the website and checking that out. But we can look at some key points that help determine, is this a hobby or is this a business? So some of the things that they're looking at are, do you intend to be in business? Do you intend or have a prospect of making a profit from your activities? Is the size or scale of your activity enough to make a profit? Are the activities repeated and continuous? And are your activities planned? Are they being run like a business? Have you got record keeping? Have you got an ABN? Have you got a business name? They're really looking at what is your intention with this activity. Is it to run a business or is it just a hobby? So when we are making content online, we need to look at, do we fit into this hobby mold or is it more like a business? Now this is a bit of a grey area, but we need to look at all of those questions. Are you making this content with the intention of increasing revenue, whether that's ad revenue or whether that's affiliate income or whether it's merchandise sales? Are you looking just to cover your costs? Maybe you put one thing out a year where it's just to try and recoup some of the expenses you had, but you're never going to make a profit. Or are you looking at turning this into something that becomes a bit of a side hustle? Or maybe you're looking to replace your employment income and do this full time. They're some of the key questions that you need to be asking yourself. Because this is such a specific area, it is really an area that you need to apply to your individual circumstances. But read these questions, look at how many you're ticking the box of yes to, and this will help you determine, is this a hobby or is this a business? Now, treating it like a business might actually not be the worst thing, because in those early years, you may have more expenses than income, and you may actually be making some losses. So sometimes people do themselves a disservice by not actually recording it and not treating it like a business from day one, when they might have actually been in a better position if they'd done that. Now, if you've determined, yes, this is a business, now you need to look at, well, what are the income and expenses of this business? So let's start with the income. And the income is going to be anything you earn in relation to your content creation. So this could be, if you're on YouTube, for instance, it could be ad revenue. Maybe you're over on Instagram and you get paid sponsorships for making certain posts. Or maybe you're on Twitch and you sell merchandise. All of these streams are going to be income. You really want to think about, am I earning money that is derived from me creating my content? Then yes, it is likely going to be income for your business. Now, one of the challenges with content creation, this can become a bit of a global business. You may be getting paid from income sources from overseas. The key thing is converting everything back to your home country. So here in Australia, we need to convert everything back to Australian dollars because we report in Australian dollars in our tax return. Now this can be difficult, but if you're getting paid online, you'll likely be able to see what the conversion is when it goes into your Australian bank account. You'll be able to see how much that is worth in Australian dollars. It can get a little bit challenging if you're using things like PayPal, etc. if you've got accounts that are in different countries. Remember, always convert back to Australian dollars. If you're using some kind of software, this can make this job a lot easier. Another thing to remember is you may need to gross up your income. And what I mean by this is maybe you get paid $100, but the website you're using takes a 20% cut. So you only receive $80. What you actually have got here is $100 of income and a $20 expense with a net result of $80. Now you can just include the $80 as the net amount. It is going to result in the same amount overall, but I would highly recommend you gross it up so you include the total income, less the fees, and then actually record your final amount that you receive. This is a more accurate way to record things. So when it comes to income, the easy question to ask yourself is this income derived from my content creation? Then yes, it is likely going to be a part of your business income for your content creation. Now, expenses is probably what you hear from because everyone wants to know, well, what can you claim against your content creation? Well, we need to determine what makes up a business expense. And again, let's go to the ATO website and see what they say. So they simply state that expenses must have been for your business and pretty much state that if it is private use, then you need to only claim the portion that is relating to your business. So this means that anything that is related to creating the content for your business is likely going to be claimable, but you just need to be aware if there is a private use portion of that equipment or maybe it's of travel, then you need to apportion that between business and personal. So what type of expenses go into a content creation business? Well, we're going to have things that are more traditional. So it might be accounting fees, maybe it's legal fees, maybe it's merchant fees that you've had to pay when you've collected income. These are more traditional expenses that maybe a physical business would see as well. So they're definitely claimable. But where content creation comes into it as a bit of a unique one is there's definitely going to be things claimable for a content creator that aren't typically claimable for other businesses. And this is because of the unique aspect of earning the income. So for instance, if you're making videos, you might have equipment such as camera gear or microphones or lights, or maybe it's your set. All of these things are likely going to be claimable against your content creation income. And that is because you need these expenses to run your business. They are being incurred by your business to be able to create content and therefore produce income. Therefore, these expenses are claimable. Where you actually record your videos or where you create your content could also come into play. Maybe you're recording in a home office like I am. So therefore, you might be able to claim an expense for home office utilities, or maybe it's your rent, or maybe it's your internet bill. Again, you're going to need to look at how these are claimed based on a percentage potentially of the floor space of your house. Maybe for internet, you need to work out what the private use percentage is because obviously with internet, you may be using your internet for private portions as well as the business. But again, you're running your business from home. Now, there are potential capital gains implications, etc. It is a bit more of a complex topic. Make sure you do your own research in this area. Now, maybe you travel for your content. Maybe that's a part of it. You've got a vlog and you have to travel. Well, again, if you're traveling, you're earning income from it, you potentially can claim this as a tax deduction. Now, this is definitely one of those areas where you may need to look at, is there a personal portion to your travel, and therefore you may need to adjust between business and personal use when you're claiming. This could be especially true if maybe your partner comes on the trip, but they have nothing to do with the content creation. You wouldn't obviously be able to claim their flights, for instance, and maybe you need to then split the accommodation in two, for instance. You just need to be really careful with travel that you actually understand how to claim it and is there a personal portion of it. What's pretty interesting about content creators is that it is so specific to the particular content creator. For instance, you might have costumes that you wear when you're streaming that therefore you might be able to claim. You might be playing some particular game and that game costs you money and you're buying stuff within that game and that is vital to your business income and therefore you might be able to claim that. You might be a YouTuber and you're having to pay for particular studies so you can research for your content. They, again, might be claimable. You really need to look at your own individual situation. And this is an area I could potentially help in because I do run a business, Rooshock Accounting, and we are a bit of a specialist for content creators. So if you are a content creator in Australia looking for help with your tax return, make sure you get in touch. All the links are in the description of the video. There are a range of other considerations that you need to make. You could potentially need to be registered for GST if you're going over the GST turnover threshold. This can get a bit complex because there's different rules for overseas income versus Australian income. You really need to do your own research in this area to determine this, but this definitely could significantly change what kind of records and what type of reporting requirements you have. If you're selling things like merchandise, you need to understand how stock works for people that are selling products. Now, if drop shipping, that could be different again. This is, again, a bit of a specialist area that you need to understand how the rules apply to your particular situation. You could have foreign tax withholding. So maybe you're earning income from an overseas source and then there is foreign tax being withheld. Again, another complex area that you need to apply to your particular situation. If you're running a content creation business, it is likely you are now a small business owner. And because of this, I've put together this upcoming playlist that is all about tax tips for small businesses and how to better understand your business and get more out of it. I'd love for you to go and check that one out.